Hi again then guys, and so it's been a little while since we last did a drag build for Gran Turismo Sport, and this is a perfect opportunity. We've already covered the R35, 34 and 32, now we can fill in the gap with, of course, the R33, my personal favourite Skyline. Now this one is, as you'd assume, not quite as quick as the R34, especially for top end acceleration, say 0 to 200, but it's a great rival, of course, for the R32 and for plenty of others as well. Now, as I always say with my drag builds, this is not designed to be the fastest in the world, and I don't claim that it's the fastest in the world either. It's a canvas for you to work from, to give those who have no experience of tuning a big leg up, so that you can at least compete against drag cars online, and then you can work on it yourself if you want to try and improve things, mess around with settings, or just put your own spin on it. So, with that in mind, you want to lower the weight as much as you can, increase the power as much as you can. They're pretty obvious things to do, of course. Traction control, you definitely want turned off, not that you'd need it on this car anyway. Now with all-wheel drive, I know a lot of people think that super softs are overkill. Some people like to have super soft on the back, hard on the front, all that kind of stuff. That's all down to you. If you want to try it, by all means. As far as the suspension, we've dropped the ride height to 120, but that's still not super low, and the reason why, of course, is because with these all-wheel drive cars in particular, I like to make them launch like a monster, and so having a bit of extra ride height, especially over the back end, can help to take up that drive without bottoming out on the ground. As far as the frequency, we've got that on 1.7, so not really much of a change. As far as anti-roll, we've increased that to 8 to keep the car straight and true. You want all of the sway in the body and the sway in the suspension in particular to be lateral rather than side to side. As far as the compression on the dampers, we've got that on 58, the rebound on 92, neutral camber and toe to get as much tyre contact to the road as possible. The downforce, of course, you want as low as you can get it, you just don't need it. As far as the diff, I've got the lowest settings all around. You could go for something else if you want to, but that's what I personally like to have on this one. And as far as the gearbox, aka the transmission, you want the fully customized transmission, of course, to be able to get these settings. An auto setting as high as possible on 249. Then for the individual gears, I've got 1975, 1.3, 0.950, 0.725, and 0.620 with a final drive of 4.1. So that's it for the rundown. That's what I've done to mine. As I said, I encourage variation, try out different things, especially when it comes to the gears in particular. You could potentially wring out an extra 0.2 of a second here, 0.1 of a second there if you stick with it, of course. I know a lot of people like to spend hours or even days on their drag tunes. I don't do that. I don't have the time to. My drag tunes are all 5-minute builds, which, that being considered, they're not exactly slow. So that's it for the tune. Now let's, as we always do, take it out on Tokyo Expressway to see what kind of times it can post. Now, as I mentioned, and as you would assume, given how much more power the R34 has, this one isn't quite as quick. I mean, you'd hope it wouldn't be, that would be a bit weird, but even up to 0 to 100 times, it's not too far off. 0 to 60 is actually the same, 2.1 seconds, and incidentally, as usual, you can see all of the times in the description below. For 0 to 100 though, you start to notice a difference. My R34 hits it in 4.3, this does it in 4.5, but then for 150 and upward, you really start to notice the bigger difference there. Because this one does 0 to 100 in 9.4, it can hit 175 in 13.9, and the magic double ton from a standing start, 200 miles per hour, arrives in 20.5 seconds. This is a little bit more sluggish than some of the other builds to hit 200, you do need a longer straight to do so, but still, to give you some idea of how quick that is, that's roughly the same kind of 0 to 200 time that it takes for a Veyron to do that in the real world. So given how much less power this car has, less weight as well, but especially a lot less power, that's actually not too bad. And speaking of more top end speed, this one can get around 230 down the Tokyo straight, so that's pretty good. A similar kind of speed to the R32, something like that. So overall, if you do decide to use this build, or check out my other builds for the Supra, the other Skylines, etc., I hope of course you have a ton of fun with it, and check out those other tunes if you haven't already. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.